Well, hi, I am Preston Salmon with Home Inspection Carolina. Congratulations on selling your house and possibly buying a new house. I want to pass these out. I want to talk to you about two things today. One is thinking about having a pre-inspection, and the other is if you don't have a pre-inspection, some things that the home inspector will be looking for. And what I handed out to you was an inspection checklist, which are what the inspector is going to be looking for. So you can use this kind of as a study guide. I like to think of it as I have two daughters, and before they have a test, they cram. I don't suggest you do this checklist the night before the inspection. Maybe start out about a week before. But if you go through this checklist, it'll go a long way for your inspection to go better. But first, let's talk about advantages of getting a pre-listing inspection. Typically, the inspection, the buyer brings in their inspector, and they find stuff, and everything's negotiable. They probably are going to ask you to fix a couple of things. They may try to get you down on the price of the house because of the inspection, and that's one of the advantages of having a pre-listing inspection. There's really two really big advantages of having a pre-listing inspection. Number one is you find out what's wrong ahead of time. So, it's going to come out whether you do it or the buyers bring their inspector. So if you know what's wrong with the house, you have time to get several estimates on the repairs. You can also check out the contractors. You can get competitive bids, plus check out the references. Whereas the normal inspection, when the buyer comes in, you've just got to get somebody to fix it right away, or they're going to try to get you down the price of the house and what maybe an escalated repair would be. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. When you have time on your side, you're going to save money. Much like the staged, like Nicole was saying, there's been studies that show that a pre-inspected homes sell quicker and for more money. So that's advantage number one. The second advantage has to do with our new contract, the due diligence contract. Well, I say new, it's well over a year, probably a year and a half old now. The way the new due diligence contract works now, and Judith, you can ask Judith after the presentation about it. It's my understanding it's kind of like layaway, where the buyer puts a due diligence amount down on the house, and if they move forward with it, that is credited. You will get that as a credit being the seller. They will get that as a credit. I'm sorry, but they also can walk away from the deal for any or no reason, but you get to say. You get to keep the money, and that's kind of your fee for keeping it off the market. Well, with that in mind, when buyers come in and they're looking at house A and house B, you have a competitive advantage, like you said, with having a pre-inspection, because if there's house A and house B, house A has been pre-inspected. If they put money down on house B and then something comes up on the inspection and they can't agree to terms on the repairs, see, they just lose that money. So house A that's been pre-inspected has a lower perceived risk because of the contract, the way that it works. But there's several other advantages. You can, I don't want to read death by bullets, as Judith says, but I will make sure you get this handout as well. But a couple of highlights, it's at the seller's convenience. You could schedule the inspection. It's good to be there because you can also explain things. I can't tell you how many times on the buyer's side we get there and there's a ceiling fan that won't work and we can't find the remote, and so we have to write it up as it's not operating. And probably if we could find the remote, you know where the remotes are, you know where all the switches are, where so you can assist the inspector in that too. Also, if there's little bitty small repairs, we do them as a company, but you may be able to do that right on site. Sometimes I've even had it. I did a pre-inspection. They had a handyman there. That's rare, but that was not a bad way to go. But anyway, you can also use the pre-inspection report to help market the home. It shows transparency. A lot of times they just put the pre-inspection report right there on the table. And like we said, a marketing tool, you find out what's wrong ahead of time so that they can't use something on the inspection to get you down on the price of the house. Now, I will tell you the case against a pre-inspection report because, there is a downside to it. You get the pre-inspection done, you fix all those items, they come in with their inspector, he finds some more stuff. You're kind of like, I'm having to go through this twice, right? Well, the way this is my approach to that, is that if you had two inspectors go inspect the same house, if there were three big items, they both should find those three big items. But if there are 15 to 20 small items, those are going to be different. And the way we work it is, if an inspector comes and finds, expect them to find small items. I mean, because they have to justify it. But if they find something big that we missed, we will refund the money for the pre-inspection, because we should have found that. So that's the way we work it. I think a lot of inspection companies follow that same thing. So anyway, that's any questions about a pre-listing inspection? Well, the second thing, if you didn't want to do a pre-listing inspection, I totally understand, is let's go to the seller's checklist. This is the study guide for your house. This is what the inspector is going to be looking for. And most of it's pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of like, just basically what the inspector is going to be doing in your house. And I must say here, kind of like Nicole was saying, people, and Judith, you alluded to it too, people fall in love with a house. It's got to be inviting. That's kind of what Nicole was saying. You got to take all those personal pictures out, because the buyers have to see themselves living there. It's hard for them to see themselves living there with all your personal stuff. So you kind of make it more inviting for them. Well, another thing is, I tell them, when they come to, more than likely the buyer is going to come to the inspection. This is probably the second or third time they've actually seen the house, and they're still in love with it. It's kind of like a second or third date, if you think about it. Now let's all think back to our second or third date, right? We were still fixing up. I guess everybody was still shaving, you don't look ragamuffin on the second or third date. Well, the same thing with your house. Don't leave dishes in the, in the sink, and keep it clean. I usually recommend having, a cleaning person come, before, because they're going to clean it deeper, But anyway, just make sure that, go through that. There's a couple of items I want to draw your attention to. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. You can call me if you have any questions.